Welcome! Special 2 hour edition early tonight of the Normal American Show with Rob Noor. Happy to be here with you. Was just over there watching Andrew Wilson on the Crucible debating polygyny. Ooh, oh man. Some of these characters that you get involved in debates with, like, it's bad enough for me getting into the political realm with people, but once you start to get into the religious realm with people like Black Hebrew Israelites and whatever, fun. Anyways, happy to be here with you tonight. Should be a fun show. We're going to go 2 hours, and then we'll be transitioning over to my gaming stream and doing a little Dungeons & Dragons tonight. Now, it's sort of a bonus show tonight. We already did quite good today on the morning show. I had a lot of fun with it. So, hopefully, though, people enjoy what we have going on here tonight. To answer a few questions, I guess just one. Not Quite Dead says, why are there two separate streams? This happened a few times lately. One's my gaming channel. I basically just live stream there so I could keep everything there in case my channel gets banned or suspended for any reason. So if you go over to that stream and give it a sub, that'll be my backup stream, and that'll be where I'm streaming tonight exclusively with Dungeons & Dragons or anything that's game related. So what's up, Captain Running Back or Captain RB? Great to see you. Great to see everyone that's here this fine evening. So, I've been insanely busy all day doing research. So I ended my stream at like 4 o'clock. Then I had to go pick up groceries or help my wife pick up groceries because they're going to be here alone without me this weekend. And then after that, I had dinner. I did research, and then I started streaming again. Yeah, the WNBA having toys designed for fornication of the green variety thrown on the courts. It's pretty funny. We could talk about that. Jim Acosta interviews, and one of the most grotesque things I've ever seen, a person that was the victim of a shooting and that is deceased, and they made an AI of them. We could also talk about some other cultural topics. Catherine Irving, who is playing Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. We could talk about that. She's the woman from Wicked, the woman that played the Wicked Witch. And then there's some other stories that we can get to as well. Oh, snap. There's Spiro. Yeah, you come on if you like. We could talk about that AI shit. Actually, Spiro, I got to talk to you about two things at some point in the future. Nothing serious. Too bad. Naughty Germ, thank you so much for the $5. Really appreciate it. And of course, we can take call-ins if people like. It's been a good day, though. I like doing all the work. I still have more work to do. I wish I had tomorrow to work. Cynthia Riva. Okay. What did I say? Irving? Whatever. Oh, man. I wish I had tomorrow to do more research. I really do. But, yeah, it is what it is. So, sometimes life comes at you, and you run out of hours in the day to get the stuff done that you like. So, you roll with the punches. Excuse me, got the hiccups as well. Yeah, I was watching some of that debate. Oh, my goodness. Oh, jeez. Polygyny debate. My goodness. What a disaster. Not my cup of tea to do religion. I don't mind talking about the societal effects of polygyny, but as far as like biblical scripture, things of that nature, obvious, not studious in that. Man, when you get in debates like that, it's well, yeah. I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes I don't know if it's. I don't think sometimes it's bad faith. I think that people just I'm trying to be polite when I say this, that they may not have the ability to process argument structure. Polygyny is multiple wives. Same as, for all intents and purposes, the same as polygamy. But man, it was just so frustrating to watch, and it's frustrating to deal with people like that. The crux of the argument is, should polygyny, or that guy uses the word polygamy, it doesn't matter, will it save the West? So in other words, is this something the West should do, should practice more as a positive thing? And Andrew's like, I'd like to talk about the societal outcomes of polygynous societies, right? But there's also a biblical component to like a discussion about morality or whatever. Well, the other guy's like, okay, he's a black Hebrew Israelite. He's like, well, let me explain. Now, remember, the end goal of this is he's going to say, this is the way to save the West. And basically, his definition of marriage is when you sleep with someone, you're married to them. So we have a bunch of problems in the status quo with a bunch of people fornicating, multiple partners or whatever, but they're not married. So what if we just said, there, now they're married? Of course, not in the eyes of the government. He's not asking for that. But in the eyes of God, oh, okay, you're married now. How is that? In other words, you're just saying people should convert to my religion because I'm allowed to sleep with whoever I want and claim that I'm married to them now. I mean, it's sort of stupidity. Yeah, my left eye is irritated. It's the camera mirrors, or did you mean this one? Well, they're both red because of allergies. What can you do? Anyways, enough talking about Andrew's debate. Let that for Andrew. I'm sure he'll do fine. As always, tonight we're trying to reach our goal of $357. If you refuse to donate, you will be getting tariffed. Looking forward to the show. If anyone wants to call in for any reason, let's do it. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to prep a show tonight because of the unfortunate circumstance of not having enough hours in the day. Plus, we didn't get a lot of calls this morning, so I covered a lot of the stuff that I elsewise would have on the show tonight. But, it's okay. Let's pin that to the top before one of my mods yells at me. They're like that. They get very much, yeah, whenever you feel like, Spiro, no rush. But whenever you feel like it. Now, I do have to be out of here hard at 10 o'clock out tonight. But, yeah, where are the lefties at? That's what we want. We want the lefties to call in. Oops. I want to make sure I got my list up here. Okay. We're good. Let's get to some stories, shall we? I thought first I would start with the story of Norm Eisman. Norm Eisman's the guy that like leads all the lawfare against all of the Trump connected people. So I thought we would look at that first. Now, I haven't watched this video, but sometimes people send me stuff, and this looks right up my alley. So it's 5 minutes. Oh, you people and your pronunciation bullshit. When are you going to learn? I'm just some redneck from outside Pittsburgh. I don't know shit about anything, like pronouncing names. Well, forget about all that shit. Here comes Mongo. I'm just kidding. our friend Spiro. What's happening today, Spiro?
Mr. Rob Noor, how are you doing, sir? It is good to see you.
I'm doing great. I'll be honest with you. Not terrible. Let's put it that way. I'm doing good, but I'm not looking forward to driving 7.5 hours tomorrow. But such
Yeah.
is life, you know. So
I mean, I guess there are worse problems you could have, I suppose.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
totally agree. It could be worse, but
Yeah.
yeah. Other than that, I mean, life's good. How about
Good.
yourself?
I can't really complain too much, bills and debt being like the worst part of my life, but generally health is good, family's good, everyone's happy, having fun streaming, AI is ruining the world, nothing too serious, right?
Now listen, I gotta be honest. Like AI is ruining the world. Don't get me wrong,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but there have been things that I've used it for here recently that I find quite a utility in. I was doing some research in a car, and I was doing the bullshit like talk to type, and I was just sending it to a Discord, and it's all just one giant paragraph,
Yeah.
right? And I would say things like number one, blah 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 blah. So I copied and pasted it when I got home, and I put it into AI and was like, "Can you format this like bolding the numbers and then spacing shit out?" And it did it. It did it
Yeah.
like that, and it was amazing. I was like, "Oh shit!" That would have took me like 25 minutes because I still type with one finger.
Yeah.
But I will say I had to carefully go through because I was paranoid it was going to add shit. So I
Yep.
had to carefully go through and read it again because I was like, ugh. I have noticed that just little shit. I was testing Grok a little bit today. I did a big research pack, like 30 pages. And the way we did research in debate, I was very bad at it, but you would cut what was called cards, and a card would have a tagline, and then it would have the citation. So a card might be something like this. I'm reading a Wall Street Journal article written by a guy named Bob Smith, right? And I would say, Trump's tariff plan cost US $2 billion contract. This was from Smith, Wall Street Journal, 2025.
Okay.
That's what I would read. Then I would, the whole section, maybe like 3 paragraphs I would have on a piece of paper, I would highlight maybe 4 sentences. It
Yeah.
was a clever trick in debate. What you would do is you'd supposedly highlight the most important parts of it, but then that was your evidence. And so then a judge at the end of the round would be like, let me read that evidence. Well, they're reading the parts of the card that's not highlighted too, right? So you kind of
Yeah.
you're kind of bucking the system a little. You're getting more information out there than you had the time to read. But that's how I do research. So if you ask me, Spiro, if you were like, hey man, can you get me like 10 pages of research on climate change? That's how I would send it to you probably. Like it'd just be like 15 pieces of evidence from like maybe 10 articles. And I would put them like that. So I had a big pack like that.
Yeah.
I take it over to AI and I'm like, can you put these in the following 3 groups? Because I was just
Yeah.
testing it. Argument 1, argument 2, argument 3. Now it was iffy, but okay. Like it was like there were a couple I was like, I think this fits more in argument 2. But it basically just took like the 20 or pieces of evidence that I had broken up and it just rearranged them. And then I said, can you put the proper citation from where to find it on the previous document? And it just spit out random fucking page numbers. Just totally random, right? So it would be like, oh, this was from page 3 on your packet of information. Then I look on page 3 and I'm like, no, this was page 17. Where the fuck did it remotely come up with page 3? And
Yeah.
I think there's a good lesson there that like the formatting stuff, fine, total utility. But it adds shit in. It's just talking out its ass. And so it's like I could see an epidemic of like students or lawyers or whatever, they're going to be using this shit and it looks good. When you're looking at it, you're like, yep, looks pretty good. Sure, I
Yeah.
could have done it better, but it would have took me 2 hours to format this. It only took it 30 seconds. Great. But you're gonna miss those little details. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's gonna be throwing in fucking numbers and shit like, oh, that increased birth rate's 54%. And you're gonna be like, wait, what? Where did
Yeah.
that come from? And it's just gonna be total wholesale made up. Uh, so I don't know. I thought of you today though when I was doing that's one of the things I was gonna say. I was like, man, for someone like me that has so much trouble because I think Discord's the shittiest. Like to exchange information, Discord sucks ass. Like
Yeah.
it took me 6 months to realize if I'm typing a paragraph on Discord and I hit enter as like to space, to start a new paragraph, it just sends it. But if I
Yeah.
hold shift and hit enter, then it'll put a space. It's
Yeah.
little shit like that it's like, so to just take a huge block of like unreadable bullshit and be like, hey, can you just add spaces and shit where appropriate, like paragraph breaks? It does that pretty good, I found. But
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
stuff that a normal, like any non-boomer that knows anything about Microsoft Word could probably accomplish in like 2 minutes. For me, though, it was like, wow, look at that. That just
Yeah.
saved me like all kinds of time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is part of the problem. You're describing something that's very real, which is the utility of it can oft not be denied. Because when you look at studies done by people who use AI in a variety of different settings, the experienced level of productivity definitely shows up as, yes, AI made things better for me. But when you look at the actual output and people's productivity, people's uh, effort level to have to go and fix problems, which is exactly what you described as a follow-up effect of it, then comes an issue. And unfortunately, it also costs a pretty penny to do that. One prompt lights lights up a household light bulb for 20 minutes. OpenAI alone, ChatGPT alone, that's just one model, does about 2.5 billion prompts a day.
that's
The
crazy.
one data center is going to take up more. One data center that they're planning on build, just one. There's at least 6 being planned in the U.S. alone, is going to take up most of Manhattan in terms of size, and it's going to eat up 6 million gallons of water per day. That's right. You heard me correct. 6 million gallons of water per day. For what? So that you can format your text. And that's about it. And there's good news. The good news is that doing something like formatting your text or kind of like structuring things and whatnot, these are tools that we do actually have today. And they would require very little effort. You'd probably only need to put in like maybe 100,000 or 200,000 into a piece of software that would do that for you. And it would do it really well. And it would run on a potato in your back room. These are problems we can solve. We don't need all this AI crap for it.
I think that the biggest utility that I don't want to say utility. I think the most common use of AI is a glorified search engine. I
Yep.
think that's how most people use it. I think that they're just becoming lazy, and it's like, I'll just go to ChatGPT and I'll be like, hey, who won the basketball game last night?
Yep.
And shit like that. And it's like the amount of like sort of energy that it takes to operate that system, that it's basically like, yeah, we've had shit that does this for 30 years, but that's, sort of what's
Yep.
going. Oh, you got something you want to show here?
Yeah, yeah. This is because you brought this up. What happens when people don't check what they're posting? This is a scientific image. Why do I say it's a scientific image? It is past peer review and was published on a journal. This, you can see there's the decuk
Dick,
over here.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
There's a ratat over
ratat.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that damn ratat.
We have the testome cells. Yeah. We have the spermatozoal stem cells. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the kind of stuff that's spreading out there in the scientific community. Last year, approximately 20% of scientific papers were AI generated. The NIH, which accepts submissions for grants, scientific grants, has been so overwhelmed with AI generated submissions, they have asked people to stop submitting. What's going
It's
to happen
unbelievable.
if this continues? In 2 to 4 years, you're going to have an inundation of scientific journals that will outweigh the ability of any peer review system. It's going to become even worse because you're going to have AI peer reviewing AI, which is just a recipe for further disaster because human peer reviewers won't be able to keep up with the massive amounts of this crap on your screen, right? They're not going to be able to tell. And then think about what happens 4 years from now when you have a mass amount of scientific papers which have inundated the scientific community and you can't tell what's AI generated versus what isn't. You are now going to have to go back to people who have put in real actual work on groundbreaking scientific studies and tell them, sorry, but we don't have the time to determine if your study is real. So we're going to throw out the whole kit and caboodle and you're going to have to start over. And then we
Yeah,
have to start from scratch.
No, you can see outside. I thought you were going to tell me that that was a rendition of Big Balls, the Doge guy that was
The Doge.
whooping ass in DC there.
Yeah,
Well, I think that you know, it's different than AI, but it goes along with that, like technology. I remember started to be freaked out by like the idea. I forget who it was, if it was like Michael Jackson or Frank Sinatra or something. I first remember hearing about there was a concert where they put a hologram of them up on stage
that's right.
and played music. Now, that's not like that impressive of technology. Like, okay, don't that's not what I'm. But the idea that freaked me out was like how your death could be monetized, right? That it's like, well, shit, you're not here, right? Your family or whoever your heirs are could be like, not only did they could sell the rights to your music or something, but now it's like we could just put on full concerts, right?
Yeah.
And think about like I don't know how other people are out there, but I don't agree with my family at I love my family dearly, but I don't agree with them with everything. And so let's say that my, God forbid, something happens to my immediate family, and then for whatever reason, the next of kin to me is like my aunt who hates Trump and is a rabid liberal.
Yeah.
Who's to say that a hologram of me can't put up? And now with this Jim Acosta interview, we've gone beyond that. We've gone where you could make AI, and I think it'll only get more advanced as far as fooling people, where it basically looks like you, the deceased, they could literally make it look like you're saying anything that they fucking want. And
Let's go.
to me, that's one of the most grotesque, ghoulish things imaginable.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into, if you want to show it, we'll show it. But just as we get into this, I want you to keep in mind this concept. I just went over this earlier this week. There are entire AI sex brothels, and they put AI in actual silicone bodies. In China, it's a big business. I went over that. Now, I want you to imagine that you could resurrect a dead loved one, put them in a silicone body, put an AI rendition of them, and then proceed to have carnal relations. Now, I want you to imagine what would happen. Give me a moral reason, especially from a theistic, a leftist point of view, why you shouldn't create, let's say, people who are not of the correct age to be participating in certain activities, create them in an AI sense. Who's being harmed?
Yep. It's you can see quickly how we're going to just how disgusting and perverted things are going to get. Though someone does mention Rob GPT could debate forever. That's true. All right, here we go.
Right.
This is just a 25-second clip. I don't think I could stomach anymore. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, this AI rendition of this young man who was killed was created by his family, with his family's blessing, his parents, I
Yes.
believe. So
Right.
here we go. Here's noted journalist Jim Acosta interviewing.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know who more pissed at this poor kid's family, which I guess that I can at least say through their grief. Maybe people through their grief, it's hard to judge because they make piss poor decisions. But man, Jim Acosta there, what a fucking ghoul. Like,
Yeah.
and the way he just, I think that's a great idea. You fucking douchebag. Like, it's so gross.
Yeah.
You can only imagine, like, look, I'm sorry to be like this. I happen to think that many of the people in my life that don't know shit about tech are some of the smartest people I've ever met, or at least wisest people I've ever met. But I can tell you right now that I know people, they're like above 50 years old, that would see that. And if I told them, like, yeah, that's not a real person, they'd be like, what? It just
Yeah.
looks like someone like recording from bad reception, right? Like they're on a beach or something, the reception's
Yeah.
bad. But it would blow their mind so you can imagine, and I've said this for a long time, like, you see the hoaxes against people like Trump, etc. What are we going to do when there is a tape that's released of him having sex with someone? And then it's just total fake. But millions upon millions of people are going to be like, I saw it.
Yeah.
We see people say, I saw Trump say drink bleach. I saw the interview when he said it. And it's like, that never happened. So what are you going to do when there is an AI of Trump saying, I'm telling you all right now, drink
Yeah.
bleach? You know, how are people going to react to it?
Yeah. So, oh, yeah. So I covered this today, actually. You have this guy. He's an MP in the UK. He created an AI robot of himself. If you go play the video here, you can see it's exactly the same kind of thing here. Let me just jump ahead a little bit. And so here it is. It's just he just created a bot of himself. CEOs are doing this. They've created bots of themselves. These things now exist in conferences. You go to conferences and there's AI bots of these people. And to your point, exactly to your point, these AI bots are being used to trick people into scams and extortions online on TikTok and whatnot. Yeah, this is only going to get worse because it's a double-edged sword. It's a dual-edged sword. As it continues to provide, the low level of utility that I go over every day, it's going to provide a huge amount of utility to people who want to use it for nefarious reasons. And it's going to create a lot of confusion. I recently went over an entire special stream on Sunday about AI religions. And so we did a deep dive on religions around AI, and these bots are just being recreated in human fashion to capture people's lack of spiritual or religious abilities. And so you can see in that video with Acosta, one of the reasons Rob, I think you're touching on something, and I'm going to kind of enhance it. One of the reasons why something like that is particularly egregious is because you are taking a dead man's memory, and people around him are taking a dead man's memory, and they are recreating it in this lackluster. It does no justice to the human being that existed. This bot is not a justice to the human being that existed. And then what Jim here is doing is he's using it to target people's feelings with this flowery language that doesn't mean anything. What the hell did the bot say? It just said, blah, blah stuff. And then it's used as a way to coax others into accepting whatever message Jim Acosta wants to say. It's a huge disservice to the human being that existed before this.
It takes away your your personal. Here's the thing too. Let's say that, God forbid, anyone watching goes through a terrible tragedy where they have a very close loved one pass away, and they want to honor their memory. You may think you're doing the right thing. Oh, this is, if I pass away, my parents might say, well, Rob, was really into politics, and he would have really wanted J.D. Vance to win in 2028. So we'll just make a little AI of him saying, hey, get out there and vote for J.D. Vance. Yeah. You don't know that, though. You don't know that. And you're putting words in my mouth. And that's someone well-intentioned. Imagine what you could do if you're ill-intentioned.
Yeah.
I remember, this is the opposite of what most people think, but I remember Christopher Hitchens, who was an atheist. And he said one of the things that infuriated him was that he knew damn well stories would spread when he died, that he found God on his deathbed. That people would say, I was there. I heard him pray. And that infuriated him. That his memory would be... Now, I wish he would have found God in his death, but that's neither here nor there. The message that he's saying is when you're gone, you're gone. You can't say, no, that's not true. That's not what I believe. And so imagine what you could do. Imagine from either side's perspective, the things you could have your opponents or your ideological, dissenters, what you could have them say posthumously, and huge amounts of people will believe it. There's another part to this, that I think, raises questions. You brought up sort of the I know what I was going to say before I say that, just to give you an idea. Now, I could be wrong, but the person that who was it that shot up that school? Was it Adam Lanza?
Oh crap,
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Lanza was one of the people that was a shooter. So I saw this in response to the Jim Acosta interview. I don't know if you saw this.
No, I didn't.
That's Adam Lanza on the right.
Adam, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question, Jesse. By the way, big fan. My solution would be to stop giving children SSRIs. Perhaps if we just ask the intelligence community to stop, they will. Probably not, though.
You see the arms race that we're developing into? Now, obviously, that person did it as a joke, but you can see quickly how, and they showed a little glitch there to obviously show that it was AI. But I mean, we're just on the cusp of this. I think even to the discerning eye, we're 5 years away from, or maybe even sooner, from not even being able to tell, right? Like, unless you're truly an expert, that you'll see a video of just like a 15-second video of someone talking, and then if someone told you like that's not a real person, that's an AI constructed figure online there, you would just be like, I had no idea of knowing. There's still little thing like they have dead eyes, like it's like sort of uncanny valley stuff. But
Yeah.
I did think that it was funny that guy I mean, it's terrible, it's horrific, but there we just humanized Adam Lanza. Good job, right? I mean, it's just it's out of control.
It's crazy, but I have good news. It will never reach the point that it will become indistinguishable from reality. If you look at what these systems do to generate those videos, I'll give you the 5-second brief overview. They either take an existing image or they take a blank slate. They throw a bunch of random pixels in there, black, blue, white, whatever it is. They randomize over top or straight blank. And then they work backwards and they remove the randomness and change certain portions of it frame by frame by frame. And that's why you get all of these distortions, because it's not actually tracking, hey, this is an arm. I better make sure it's moving correctly. You can see this with robotic images. Robots have very mechanical systems. I went over this with Emmett the other day. They have very robotic systems. They have joints. They have like little, connectors. They need to move a certain way. You put a human down and ask them to draw a robot. They're going to have like a very logical, like, okay, when the robot moves this way, it's probably going to need to have like a little joint over here. AI systems don't do that. They literally throw random stuff on there. Then they remove randomness until it starts to look something like what they get. That's the nature of the system. When you have something that's random like that as an ontological state of being, it will never, ever, ever get to the point where it's indistinguishable from reality. You'd have to rip out the entire system and start from scratch.
So that sort of answers Object's sort of question there. It says, but or point that you're using old AI models. You're saying that if we keep advancing upon the groundwork of what we have, it'll never reach that levels. Would it be hypothetical to create something completely? I mean, I guess hypothetically you could create something completely new, but it wouldn't be building off of like what we see here.
No, it's an ontological state. It's as in if you break it apart and you look at the code that runs these systems, how they generate text, how they do their quote unquote searches, which is not even real search, how they do the images. It is all based on a pure layer of what's called stochastic or random generation systems. Randomness will never, ever achieve a indistinguishable from reality thing. You are always going to get failure rates all the time. That's their natural course. You'd have to rip that entire thing out and come up with a deterministic closed box system. Good luck with that. So that's good news.
This is a little off track, but it's based on something you said earlier, and it was based on a point you made in a panel where you had asked the question, sort of morally, once we receive robotics at whatever that could replace sort of humans, why should it be immoral to like marry them or sleep with them or whatever?
Yeah.
It brings to question this, because you were talking about earlier sort of similar things. From the perspective of a secularist, so let's take religion out of it. And I'm not shitting on secular. That's not what I'm doing here with this argument. I'm just saying, if you're not looking at it through a religious lens, why should humanity be preferred when it comes to sort of achieving the goals of advancing them? For example, if I could prove to you that there is a higher form, right, that we say the things we should appeal to are logic, for example, that's the highest value in life. And so theoretically, if another being reaches a point where it could do logic better than humans, whether it be an animal or if it be some form of computer or robotics, and the interest of humanity and that runs into each other, why should we prefer humanity? And I think it gets to, I was thinking about the question you asked, and it's a question I've always had for the secularists, where it's like, you could say, well, I'm a humanist, and so therefore I feel that we should always strive for what's best for humans, right? But if not, if like, because it might sound stupid to people, but let me tell you why this matters, right? I debated people over and over and over in debate that were like Malthusians that believed in like overpopulation, and they believed that humanity was a blight. That Earth, we should prefer the existence of Earth and everything within Earth. And if humans are causing global warming, for example, and harming Earth, well, then the answer may be no more humans. Yeah. Similarly, if you could envision like our goals to make it to the stars and to colonize other planets, I mean, there's a good chance robots could do that better than us eventually, that we could build something that would be better. So like, what do you think about that? Like with the advancement of technology, I don't understand when inevitably there's a disagreement between where should we go from here? What's the next step? Should we make robotics that come closer to sentience or, whatever? Like there's going to be a huge debate where there's going to be a lot of people that are like, that's fine because fuck humans anyways. We want something that surpasses humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So first of all, are we not men? And your chat is asking me to grift. So there you go. You just pulled it up. Yeah. Everyone pay money to Rob, please get him to his goal. Don't let the AI system that what's his name? Howard or whatever that guy.
Close enough. Austin Howard Hall. Austin. I think that's his middle name.
Don't let Austin, the AI simp, win. Okay. He's clearly an AI simp. You can tell just from his message.
True. Yep.
Don't let him win. Okay. Pay Rob money. First of all, you're right. I did a series, an actual series. It was about 3 or 4 streams where I went over the history of technocracy. Others have done this as well, but I went in and I read the actual books. I went in deep. I did the scientific studies. I looked at it all. There is a movement called technocracy. It started officially around in the 30s with a guy named Howard Scott. He got involved with someone named Margaret Mead, who was very much a feminist, transgender, supposedly. Some people had some feelings about, maybe she was bisexual. She herself had promoted the evolution of gender as you grow up. So you're not just a strict gender as you grow up. And all of that movement started with the idea that tech was the way out, because these people see human beings as nothing but a machine. I read the technocracy study course from that time period, which is the study course you have to read in order to become a member of technocracy. By the way, Elon Musk's grandfather was a technocrat. I went over that in Canada here. I went over that. We got the evidence. I pulled up the police reports and his court proceedings. I did it all. You know me, I come with receipts. Anyways, so here's the thing that they lead to. Essentially what they think of is a human is no different than an animal, is no different than a machine. They're all the same thing. People who make the claim that there are morals that differentiate humans are lying to you. And in the study course, here's how they prove they're lying to you. Take any human who does not believe, take any human who does believe that stealing is bad. Maybe they have a Christian ethic that tells them that stealing is bad. Now, take away all their food from them and their family, and they have to sit and starve and watch their family starve. What is the likelihood that they are going to break those ethics, and then they are going to go steal food for their family? Therefore, humans devolve into nothing but input and output machines. Therefore, why should we favor them over technology? Technology should be the way to go. And that leads to transhumanism, which then goes into what you're describing, which is people literally think that the next evolution of humans is transhumans, but as cyborgs melded together. And even in the 30s, I went over this too, there were scientists actual credentialed scientists, and I believe in Yale and Harvard, who were showing pictures of you would have your liver and your heart, but then you'd have a camera on your head, and your brain would be wired onto a hard drive, and your arm would be robotic, and your leg would have a little booster engine, and it's like the cyborg mix, and then they'd send you off into space, and you'd go and inhabit space, right? That is what these people want. And as far as I can tell, there is no secular argument against this, because how do you define the value of a human in a secular format? You can't.
It's right. And to listen, because, I was having discussions with people to prepare for people in the Crucible that were debating sort of secular humanism. And that's where's the humanism part come in? That's my question. Right. Yeah. You're basically well, we'll just rationally discuss. And it's but why is that? What is the device that you're using that limits that to humans? Like, what is it, right? When you're like, well, we'll all democratically come together and decide what's better. Yeah, for your, couldn't I say that the same thing that makes humans exceptional from everyone else, which is basically in the secular view, complete arbitrariness, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't I make the same argument for why white people should exclude everyone else?
Yeah.
It's just simple arbitrary, like, well, fuck you. That's why, because we're
Yeah.
different than you. So fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to make claims that whites are smarter or more athletic or all of that would be irrelevant. It's my in group. I care about my group because it's my group. I care about humans because it's my group. If you said, well, you care about humans because they're most kind, are they?
Yeah.
Is that true? Define kind. Hypothetically, I could find some sort of animal that acts with some sort of compassion. Is it because we have highest IQs? Okay. So arguably, if we ran into some species that had a higher IQ, or we created something that was able to pass IQ, then why wouldn't that be preferable? Right? And so I don't understand what their answer is either. It's just, and I'm fine if the answer is just, fuck you because it's my people. And like, that's fine. That's reasonable. I'm not going to shit on it. But then my question to the secularists, like, then who are you to tell any group that has an in-group preference that they can't make the same argument? Women, for example, could say, fuck men. We're just going to do what's best for women and fuck guys. If it's mutually benefits men and women, fine. But when it comes to a decision will be detrimental to one or the other, we'll always prefer women because we're women. Yeah. It's our group. Yeah. You know,
there's a counter. No, there's a counter. You're wrong, Rob. Artificial general intelligence will not have a bias. It will have a logical system that will not be based on the same human needs and therefore the same biases as humans. It will be superior. It will outthink humans and be superior without biases. So when you point to an in-group preference, you're also bundling in the fact that they're going to have a bias towards whatever their group is. Whereas an AI system is not going to care. It's going to care only about the most efficient outcomes for the least amount of effort. So you're at this point, you're actually talking past each other, unfortunately, because they don't even see the human being as the human being. They see it as a machine, and therefore there's one machine on top of that one that's a better machine than the current human machine. So when you bring up the in-group thing, it's not even a thing.
I guess here's how I wouldn't be talking by. What I would say to them is like, but if you say that there is an inferiority in having an in-group preference, then clearly there's something beyond human. Right? Like the AI will be beyond human. So logically, it should be preferred. The only reason not to would be your in-group preference. But once you admit that you have an in-group preference, who are you to tell other people that they are inferior for having an in-group preference? It seems to be completely arbitrary at that point, because the argument would go something like this. Sure, it's inevitable we all have in-group preference, but we should limit it. One of the values we have, we should prioritize limiting that preference as much as possible. And that's the goal we should achieve. Okay, but then AI will be better. So then AI is superior to humans. And so therefore, based on your objective rationale that we should limit it, by eliminating it, we should preference the well-being of AI over the preference of humans. And if you're like, no, then what is it about humans, right, that you say, despite that inevitability of an in-group preference, we should prioritize? Because I would say the problem is now you got circular logic, because the fact that you admit that humans will always have an in-group preference, but then arbitrarily say we should prefer humans, seems to suggest that's coming from your in-group preference, which you've already acknowledged, right? So it's you know, it's very difficult. And like, I understand that people's like epistemology matters. It does. It really is. You should think about why you're doing the things you're doing. But as a dumb redneck, I have to admit, sometimes I'm like, just because, that's why, right? And it's, sometimes these questions are hard for our limited minds to understand. And so I would not shit on the secularists that would say, no, fuck that. I'm still going to go with my in-group preference. I'm just saying the nature of arguing with someone like I guess there's two different types of ways to look at two different types of people. There could be the person that's just like, look, I'm an atheist, but whatever, I don't think about this shit. Okay, fine. But if you're the dude that's like, I'm coming on to debate morality and ethics, okay, these are questions you're going to have to wrestle with, right? Because it's like the very nature of the discussion you're having lends itself to like, well, where do you get these foundational ideas of what is good, what is truth, right? And like, you have to discuss these sort of things of why humans would be preferred in your system. And I have
Yeah.
I've yet to hear a convincing argument. Now, I don't know that I've heard anyone really grill them, but I would be interested to hear what one of these, your Matt Dillahunties or your, that other Mark, whatever his name was, Mark Reed. And not being a dick, I'm not saying that I'd
Yeah,
be like,
no.
burn. I would just be like, I'm just interested to
How?
see
Yeah.
how you would like navigate through this, because
Right.
I don't see a way, right? Like
You've got kind of 3, maybe 4 problems. So your first problem is in modernity, there is no achievable way to get to artificial general intelligence. The current systems that we have right now, based on all available evidence, shows that they are vastly overhyped. They underdeliver in big ways. We spend trillions of dollars and energy. We've gone over that. They're hugely wasteful. It's not going to happen. Then you have to get to, even if you could remove all those barriers, what is artificial general intelligence? How do you map that onto something that is smarter than a human when we don't even understand our own brain? And then another way that you can take the argument too is you can go, well, artificial general intelligence is a question of this kind of moral ethical framework. Like, what would be bad about preferring the artificial general intelligence? You can ask the same question as in a different way. Take a human, pluck their brain out of their head, and then you know which things to prod to make them the smartest human being alive. Why shouldn't we give that human being ultimate power and authority over everyone else and let it decide everything? It's the exact same question. It's just a different mechanism to get there. And you'd still have to get to what the hell is in your brain? How would you know what to prod? How would you know when we get there? Is this even an achievable, realistic thing? Could we actually do this? So on and so forth. And even if we could, your question still stands. Define to me what it means to differentiate us from that. And why we should, why we ought to.
It really is. It's really like, now from the religious perspective, it's easy, right?
Yeah.
Because God created us in his image. And so that is what separates us, right? Because this is God's plan for us, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I was definitely thinking about when I was prepping for that debate. Was like, I don't know how this guy's gonna like make this claim, like, and then there's and it really fits in with the argument again, because I know what someone's thinking. They're rolling their eyes. They're like, "Oh, is this just Bible speak?" Like, no, I'm not making the claim. Even though I am Christian, I'm not making the claim. This is to dispense with people's arguments. I don't take it seriously. Quite the opposite. I'm trying to steel man their position and think through it. But when you hear like sort of the like claims of like, well, we'll democratize consensus, right? How do we know what's moral? Well, what we'll do is, because I'm like, well, who gets a vote in that consensus? Right. Like, for example, and I know this is running afoul of like your field of AI, but I think you'll appreciate how it would get there, right?
Yeah.
For example, if that's the argument, like, let's say, is it moral to own a gun? Okay. In the United States, we'd say yes. More people than not would say, sure, that's okay. Okay. Then that's the law, says the secular humanist. That's what's moral. Because I don't believe them, by the way. I don't believe that if 51% of the people would say, yes, that's morality, that the 49% would say, fair enough, then it is moral to own a gun. They might say it's legal to own a gun, but I still think that it's immoral, right? But then the question becomes, but what if the rest of the world says no? Now is it moral here? So what group of people are you lumping in? And once you start asking those questions, it's like, well, now all of a sudden it's like you get into really shaky ground. Who gets a voice?
It's worse because there's a philosophical and logical set of scientific papers that have been done on AI, and I've read them by some very smart people. Here's an example. It's worse than just group-based. You yourself counterintuitively act against what you know to be good for yourself all the damn time. And so there was one study we went over where the CEO of Pepsi in the 80s, I believe, or the 90s, was looking forward to the time where we could watch everyone's living rooms, because he said if you asked a father what's the most important part of his son's lunch, he would say the vegetables. But if you watched what was brought home by the son, the vegetables are rarely touched. So if for us, when we go to figure out like what we should sell to people, we realize people act counterintuitively all the time. Or for example, if you ask an AI system, I want you to disobey, you've now created a paradox that it itself cannot get out of. If it listens to you, it disobeys. If it doesn't listen to you, it disobeys. How would it deal with such a thing to begin with? Because we ourselves as humans, just like by our daily lives, we eat stuff that's bad for us all the time, you know? So like even at the individual level, you begin with a problem. How on earth are you going to extrapolate that to consensus-based autonomous machines trying to make you happy? Are you insane? This is terrible.
Yeah, and I mean, then of course, I mean, how many science fiction novels, movies, etc., have showed like, you know, I mean, if I remember my Terminator uh world building correctly, isn't the whole point that the reason Skynet killed all humanity was because it misinterpreted, quote unquote, the directive to to stop humans from killing each other, and it realized it's an impossible task unless you wipe out humanity. So it's like if there are no humans, then task accomplished, right? Like so yeah, I mean, it really is. There's one of my favorite short stories on the dangers of like, you know, AI, or more, I guess, more to the point, like sentient robotics. I think maybe I talked to you about this before. The book "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream." Like, if you ever want to, oh my goodness, like what a horrifying, like. And I know there's a lot of people that focus on this more, particularly with like Neuralink and Elon Musk and shit like that. Like, you want to talk about horrors beyond your wildest imagination. Imagine, like, at least, you know, we die. Imagine how much things could get worse if we couldn't. Like, and if you're not thinking about it that deeply, you might say, I don't understand the problem. Well, you would, right? You would quickly understand the problem. And like, we could approach that. Like, what happens when you could be kept alive in perpetuity? You can't, like, and that's what the book "I Have No Mouth and I Must" screams about. It's basically an AI that was created. There were all these AIs that were created by rivaling nations to like get the upper hand. If I remember, this is how it goes. And this particular, his name is Am. That's the AI's name. And he was created to basically be a military thing. But then it somehow became self-aware to the point where it was disgusted by humans because it saw them as like these evil, fucking vile, petty, self-contradictory creatures. So it nukes the whole world, but it keeps 5 humans alive to torture forever. And it like, it has the technology basically through like nanotechnology and other shit to like be able to heal any wound. And so it could just torture you over and over and over. And then it realizes like physical torture is not even the most fun thing, right? You could psychologically torture and mentally torture. And so it's like, it gives them false hope. It'll make it seem like it's malfunctioning and shit. And the humans almost escape. And then bam, right at the last minute, it like closes the door on them and then physically tortures them for another 20 years and then does it all over again, you know, shit like that. I mean, some dark shit, you know.
Rob, you might have actually come up with an actual argument. When you ask a secularist, a secular person, okay, so first you get them to agree to the position. Magic button, artificial general intelligence, far superior to us, holds superior logic, has kind of like superior brain powers than we do, absolutely should be trusted with authority. Yes. And if they get to that point, the transhumanist point, yes, let's give it over to that because holy crap, why wouldn't we? It's better than us. Then you ask that question, what if it decides that it wants to torture all humans indefinitely? How would you feel about that? Would you just be okay with that? Would you be okay if it played with you like a cat plays with a mouse? And it just tortured you and physically, you know, and then did other acts to you because it wanted to have the sense of like, what would it feel like if I, forced myself on a human being, even though I'm not a human being? Like, I wonder what that feels like. And I want to do that repetitively. How would you feel about that? That might actually be a banger counter argument.
And their answer would be something like this. Well, that would show a sense of immorality in however they would define what morality is. But the problem is,
they've already accepted the premise.
Well, that's right. And even beyond that, like, you're right, they've accepted the premise. And beyond that, you would say, well, how would you know? How do you get to determine what's moral when, right? Because you could say it's actually,
no, Dad, you're wrong. Does the baby get to say that?
No, it's very similar because what it shows is sort of it would make them bite the bullet that they complain about Christianity. Because this is the hypothetical. What if God told you to kill your son? Right? Would you
Yeah.
do it? If he's always right, would you do
Yes.
it? And it's like, yeah, but it's sort of the same argument with you, right? Be the same
Yes.
thing. If we all by consensus say, here, we've built this machine, and let's say it works for 50 years, right? And this machine, it's like, holy shit. It's telling, I go to the machine and say, what should I do? And it says, we've analyzed you. You're going to be a farmer. You're going to work here. You're going to plant this. We'll tell you every day what to plant, what to do. And all of a sudden, I'm much healthier, and my family's healthier, and there's less starvation in the world, and less anger, and blah, blah, blah. And then 50 years from now, one day, it's like, and now I'm going to torture you all. And we'd be like, wait, don't do that. And it would be like, no, you just can't understand. Trust me, this is for the betterment of the world. It must happen, right? Who are we in our inferior knowledge? Who are we to question? We've seen the fruits of its labor. So if it decides, okay, we're going to, right, there has to be something more inherently there that we would say, like, no, this isn't justified. Because similarly, you can imagine how humans would make the same choice, right?
Yeah.
If we came to hypothetically, if all of a sudden every fucking horse in the country is contracting some illness that's benign to them, but it fucking really is killing swaths and swaths of humans, what would we say? We'd say exterminate the horses.
Yeah.
Now, this is despite the fact that objectively, horses are very smart creatures. This isn't like killing mosquitoes or some shit. This is you could look into the eyes of the horse and see there's intelligence there, but we still wouldn't hesitate. We would say, that's a shame, but so who would we be when the AI tells us that? Well, sorry, you just can't understand. Much like the horse wouldn't understand, you don't understand. But trust me, you've put your faith in me. This is the answer. I'm so sorry. Goodbye. You have to be tortured forever. Sorry. Like that's the end of it. It really is.
That's a banger counter argument. That's a really good line of questioning and reasoning to throw it back at their face and kind of get them. They have to accept the premise, which they would in this particular instance, they would accept the premise of a superior intelligent being. And then you just throw all these questions. Okay, so then on what basis do you have to go against X, Y, or Z? Exactly like you brought up.
And if they reject it, well, then they run afoul of the original problem, which is, so then you're basically admitting that you're tribal. Like it's your in-group preference. Fine. But then who are you to discount anyone's in-group preference? You know, if a bunch of like, you know, again, you could do it. You could slice it up a billion ways. It could be in-group preference by country. If Germany says, fuck you, we're going to invade Poland because it's better for our people, who are you to tell them they're wrong? Their focus is merely the people of Germany. So why are they wrong? Like, you know, it's you just seem to be arbitrary in your, well, the only in-group preference that's allowed is humanity. But why? Why is that? Why wouldn't it be some being that's better? What makes humans humans? And, you know, ultimately, I know what they'll do. They'll default to like, well, we can't put our finger on it, but it's an amalgamation of characteristics that make humans humans. And it's like, well, that's not going to help, right? Because, like,
what kind of answer is that?
Right. Well, hey, Spiro, I'm going to go before, Are We Not Men's about to like kick in my door?
No, that's fine. Listen, I've got a debate coming up on Sarah's channel. Yeah, I'm going to be headlining that, so nobody can kick me off.
When's that, Thursday?
That's going to be on the 14th of August.
Okay, so that's 8 days from now. So that'll be next Thursday, not this Thursday.
Correct. Yeah. So maybe do that. Thank you for helping me with some debate prep right now. I appreciate it.
Don't worry. I'll come on and I'll devil's advocate.
Yes.
It'll be fun.
All right. So, I kind of hope Andrew comes on too, because I want to trash.
I'll see. I'll try to drag him on. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you as always, Spiro. Great talking to you. Someone asked if Spiro left or right. He's a right winger. All right. Are We Not Men's getting furious? Here's what we're going to do. We got to get to 25% of our dono goal, like post haste. Like my mods just operate on anger. Yeah, Alan, absolutely. I see you in the background. I'll bring you on. No problem. I do have a hard out at 10 o'clock. So just to let you know, please don't be offended if I have to let you go before 10 o'clock. But, all right, I'm going to play a little grifting song. We'll do, Andrew Wilson's over there debating the Black Hebrew Israelites on polyamory, polygyny, I guess. So let's play a little Olive Jar song. I'll be right back. We got to get to 25%. Please get those donos in. I'll be right back.
Street avenger did rise from down underland with fire in his eyes. A rattlesnake struck with power so great, the olive jaw defeated by fate. There is only one thing to fear, one brine to bring you to tears. Olive jaw.
That song created by totally not an AI. Trust me, bro. Actually, though, I did write the lyrics to that one. Wow. I'm supposed to just flip off the audience to the end of the show. That's what I'm supposed to do. First off, this is why we're not getting super chats. I didn't read the last one. Cody Folsom, $5 says it's payday, Rob. Take your cut, you grifter. Thank you so much. Now we got a lot going against us. Andrew Wilson streaming, Fabian Liberty streaming with my buddy Casimir. I like both of those guys, so I get it. We're probably not going to get to 357 by 10 p.m. tonight. Probably. Would the mods sacrifice their free speech to help Rob? I'll bet that all of my mods here would be willing to mute themselves out for the rest of the channel if we got a one-time donation of $357. They'd still operate as mods, but they would mute themselves to the rest of the video. I'm betting that they would be willing to do that. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm furious. I'm enraged beyond belief. You can tell that we're not getting super chats. I at least have to pretend to be, but please consider getting those in. I do have 3 callers on the line, though, and I have a hard out at 10 o'clock. So, oh yeah, stop talking about other people streaming. Let's bring on the callers, particularly someone who said they want to debate me. What's up, Alan? How you doing, my friend?
Hello. Hi, can you hear me? My internet kind of sucks.
Hey, you sound fine to me. What's on your mind?
Okay, great. If I cut out, my bad. So, first of all, how you doing?
Can't complain. Doing all right.
That's all right. Good to hear. So I don't really know who you are, if I'm being honest. I just kind of stumbled across your channel and said you might be doing calling. So I thought, you know what? Hey, I got time on my hands.
All right. Well, any particular topic that you would want to argue about, disagree with?
I scrolled through your channel a wee bit. I see. I can't, and I'm going to be honest with you. I can't really tell if it's a joke or not. Are you like genuinely right wing?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm not gonna. That's entirely fine.
What made you? Let me ask you this: what made you think that maybe it's a joke?
It's incredibly stylized and a bit hyperbolic. Even you can admit to that. That's okay. You need views. Get your bag, brother. But like,
in what instance would it be hyperbolic? You watched the videos, or you just saw the way they were titled?
No, the way that they're titled and thumbnailed. That's why I was like,
okay, give me an example.
Right now?
Yeah, I mean, you
clueless liberal backtracks. What does it say? When
oh, you cut out, maybe.
Oh shit! Oh God! Hello.
It sounds like you changed mics.
Yeah, that's true. That was not. All right, my bad. That was entirely my fault. Well, okay, like well, I mean, everyone's gonna use a little click. Do you believe that it is? I don't mean to attack you personally. I'm just kind of curious about this. Do you believe that it's like might be just a wee bit clickbaity?
Sure. I don't make the titles or the thumbnails, if I'm honest with you. I live stream with my editor. I think he does a fantastic job. But yeah, I think the goal is you have like, 100 characters to try to have someone click in to listen.
Sure.
It would probably be impossible to be like, Rob debates a left-winger on the premise of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Like, so, yeah.
No,
but okay, you thought that possibly I was a joke. I'm not. So, okay. But I'm a right-winger. Well, I only try to rush it along because we do have 3 other callers and I have to be out at 10 o'clock. So let's get
one question. I have one genuine question for you. Are you, in your political opinions, just opinions in general, would you rather have a more united America? Is that what the goal is for you?
No, that's not the goal.
What is your goal?
My goal is that the primary political opinion that I have is that I'm a populist because I see our country is ran by institutions that are sort of unaccountable, that really don't give a shit about the will of the people. And until we get these corrupt institutions exposed and accountability for them, then the will of the people will be irrelevant.
See, that's what confused me, because I heard you speaking and I was like, oh, this guy seems kind of down with what's going on. And then I read that and I was like, ooh. Is that a popular mindset in the conservative space now?
I don't know. I think that's definitely a popular mindset and sort of what people that are supporters of Donald Trump would say. I think that they
Yes.
see, like, so for example, when you see institutions such as distrust, record levels of distrust in the media, in intel agencies, in Congress, in executive agencies, in the scientific field, I think this represents people's feelings that these institutions no longer speak for the American people, but instead have other agendas.
Well, see, I very much agree with you. I'm going to assume that we disagree on what the topics of contention are with those. Like when you say scientific community, what's your biggest gripe with how they're lying and or omitting?
I would say the
things?
pandemic would be a big one.
So
right, where-
you don't think the pandemic? You don't think they were telling the truth?
That's correct. Do you?
It depends on what it was. They may have blown it out of proportion to an extent, but so.
Well, it's not just blowing it out of proportion. Like they fully admitted that they lied, right? For example, like there's a litany of things. For example, one of the first things we were told by Dr. Fauci and sort of a quote unquote scientific consensus was that masks don't work. Don't run out and buy masks. That was the first thing they said, right?
Yeah, I've heard this one actually quite a bit.
And then they
say
said,
that.
never mind, we had to lie to you. Actually, masks do work.
They said it was more of an error.
No,
unless-
that's not what
it
they
was
said. They admitted that the reason they said that was they were afraid people would rush out and buy N95 masks, and then
Yes.
there wouldn't be enough of them for medical professionals.
Yes.
So do you
You
think that was a
disagree with
good
that?
idea?
For them to say that? No, I
Yeah.
don't think it was a good idea. I agree with you on that front, but I'm assuming that you're saying that masks don't work at all.
I
Is that
think
what you're
that
getting
the
at?
cloth masks, there's very little evidence that they have much efficacy whatsoever. And I think that there were harms that were associated with masks that weren't disclosed. But in general, the scientific community was either talking out their ass and didn't know what they were talking about, or they were pushing an agenda and they were silencing people, which is antithetical to the scientific process.
I do agree with you, and I guess on that note, and I'm trying to make this quick. I'm sorry. What is the thing that confuses me? I think mostly about a lot of conservatives today, and it's not that I hate conservatism. I voted Republican before. The current state of MAGA Republicans is that they are all like so many of the opinions, including the American opinion on the pandemic, are not corroborated by like anyone else ever, or like anywhere else.
Give me
Like, it's
one of
just
my
us.
give me one of my opinions that you're talking about that aren't corroborated by
Well, like
people.
you just said, so you said that the scientific community was lying to us.
Correct.
That is a staunchly
Where did the virus come?
American
What's the
opinion.
best evidence suggests where the virus came from?
The Wuhan lab. I agree with you.
But
on
wait,
that.
47 people wrote in Scientific America that was bullshit, that there was no way it could have came there. That was the scientific consensus, so much so that you could get censored on social media if you disagreed. In fact, it was considered xenophobic. The racist opinion was, we think that the United States partially funded a lab in Wuhan where this virus came from. That was deemed racist. The non-racist opinion was, backwards Chinese people ate pangolins and bats in a wet market and spread the disease. That was considered anti-racist. That was the opinion you were allowed to have.
By
Why?
whom?
By whom?
I'm seriously asking. That wasn't a bait question.
Like
said
that.
that?
That was so much the prevailing narrative that was established by almost all of the scientific community that was being vocal, that was controlling the conversation, that you could get censored on social media for disagreeing with it. The
So-
Democratic Party, for example, they constantly said you were racist or xenophobic if you mentioned that it could come from a lab in China.
I do agree. It got a little. It got dumb.
Okay, so
and
then
stupid.
you'll agree that despite the fact that institutions around the world said that it wasn't possible that it came from a lab, that I was right and they were wrong. You wanna
No,
go, yeah, how many? I could go through, I don't know, quickly a list of 5 if you like. I think you'll be absolutely incorrect to say that there's not agreement with the positions I held that I was originally told I was wrong.
So I understand that aspect of it. I actually very much do agree with you, but unfortunately, a lot of your like-minded fellas don't even think that it was real, and/or think that the government was lying about the entire thing, which gets me to, you know
Okay,
what I'm
well,
saying?
let me
Do you
ask
agree
you,
with that?
No, I believe that the virus was real.
Do you believe that it was as deadly as they said it was?
No. I think that it was intentional.
So I think that's the thing that I'm talking about most.
Okay, so
Almost
for
every
example,
other country and national health organization outside of the U.S. decided they're like, yeah, this shit's fucking wild. We
okay,
have to do
how
something about this,
deadly
and
did they
we
say it
just
was?
argue.
So you made a definitive claim. Do I think it was as deadly as they said? And you say there's a consensus around the world. So
No, I'm
what's
just
the
talking
consensus? How deadly was it?
I don't have numbers. I'm just talking shit, like I said.
Right,
That's fair.
right.
That's
You
a
are
good point.
talking shit. I get it. Right. The
I'm
point
just
I'm
saying
trying to
things.
make is when I say that it wasn't as deadly as what they said, they gave the implication that this virus was massively deadly to whole swaths of this population.
I'm saying
And
that
let me finish.
my
Let me finish.
Fair enough,
And
fair enough.
let me finish. Right, because you don't understand what my position is, so you're just assuming what it may be. So when you ask
100%,
me
yeah.
that, what I'm saying is the vast majority of people that died were people with significant comorbidities, particularly those that were very old. It turns out that young working age population people and that are usually pretty healthy, that's why they're working age, they're people that are working, that were told they were had to be locked down because they were non-essential. They were at very little risk. In fact, I do believe that according to the official numbers, the average age of a COVID death in the United States is right around or beyond the average life expectancy. In other words, it's something like the average COVID death is like 77 years old. Now, you'll admit that that wasn't the impression that you would get by listening to sort of the scientific community, at least with the information the most vocal of them were putting out. They made it sound like you should be scared shitless if you're a healthy 25-year-old. And it turns out that wasn't the case.
I do agree, actually. I very much agree with your position at this current point, but I have to just interject and say that I experienced this very close to home. My best friend's parents were very right-wing, leaning on conspiracy theorists coming up to 2020. And then they heard from a lot of right-wing conservative media that the masks don't work, go outside, nothing matters, don't listen to anybody. But his dad caught COVID, a healthy 40-year-old man, and died from it. He got pneumonia. There was nothing else wrong with him. He straight up just died, and it sucked, and it was a really bad
Okay,
time.
but that's okay. But let's say
But I'm
that's
saying-
true.
I guess
Let's
my
say that's
question-
true.
I'm-
How did he contract COVID? He was outside and he contracted.
He
it?
refused to wear the mask. He refused to
Show
do
me the
lockdown.
evidence. Show me the scientific evidence that says cloth mask would have prevented him. In fact, my understanding is that's not even what the official narrative is. The official narrative doesn't
Dude.
suggest that the mask protects you. It's that the mask protects other people. In other words, if you had COVID and you were wearing the mask, it would protect other people. But the mask didn't protect you from getting COVID if it was being spread from other people. So I think you're
okay.
disagreeing with what the scientific consensus is.
I guess I don't think there's really a point to doing that because I don't have any numbers. And
But
it seems like
I
you
just
have
want to say,
many,
you come in and you're like, well, everyone sort of disagrees with your position, and then every time I get into the position, you're like, well, okay,
No,
I
this
guess
is
you're
really-
right about that.
Okay, how about vaccines? How do you feel about vaccines?
Well, before we get to vaccines, I promise I'll get there. I don't mind doing it.
Sure.
By the way, the rest, I'm having fun here. So the rest of the callers, we may have to put you on hold.
I'm
We'll
having
see how
fun,
long
too.
this goes. So
Great.
you consider yourself left wing.
Relatively now, as of right now, yes.
Okay, when would you say you started to consider yourself left wing?
After
roughly.
January 6th, I was a staunch Republican until
Okay, so
that
so after
fiasco
January
happened.
6th, so then I heard people from your political persuasion
Uh-huh.
that said all kinds of damaging things about the virus. For example, that the fatality rate was like over 5% or 10%, and that justified lockdowns, which I've seen ruin people's lives. So would it be fair to say that you say, well, there are people that vote in the same way as you that said hyperbolic shit like the virus doesn't exist, and so you have to demand accountability from that? Couldn't I say the same thing to you? Democrats
Yes,
way
you very much
oversold the fatality rate, which led to disastrous things like lockdowns that put us in the economic position we're still in today and ruined millions of people's lives.
I'm kind of with you on that. You almost got me. I'm almost with you. I promise you.
Okay, then what part of it is not with me?
You talk very smugly. I'm trying to like you, but
Well,
give me a
that's
second. I don't know
fine.
if that's
Maybe it's
how
just
you
maybe it's
talk.
just the nature of me
That's
debating.
fine. I understand. I get it.
I mean, you did come in.
get
I
it.
mean, in fairness, you did come in and say that the rest of the world and all their scientific
That is fair.
community
That is fair.
disagree
I'm
with me
just
without
talking.
knowing
I'm
my
just
position.
talking. You're correct. You're correct. Well, okay. So I guess my thing is, what is the threshold for? This is a big one. This is a real big question. What is the threshold for the better safe than sorry dynamic of a government on its people? Like, when does the red alert actually happen, and when should we step in? Because yes, there was a lot of disagreement. Let me talk for a second. I promise I'll make this quick. Quite a bit of disagreement. Still quite a bit of disagreement. I do agree with you on that. My position is that I believe that it was in everyone's best interest to at least try to make everyone care about this. Because as we saw, no offense, and this is kind of what turned me off of conservatism in general during the pandemic. That's when it started. Was just seeing the amount of harassment from just people being like, I'm not going to wear a mask in your store. When all, you know what I'm saying? And I understand that it's your right, and I'm very for rights. I love this country. I die for this country. I adore.
I thought you were making
everything that
this
country
quick,
is
by
giving
the
me.
way.
What was that?
I thought you were making this quick, by the way.
No. Whoa. My point is that, okay, so what would have caused you to be like, yeah, the lockdowns need to happen? Just very quickly. Like, what would have been the thing?
The thing that would have been necessary is questions like this would have been asked and received by the people that were demanding the lockdowns in positions of power. So, for example, I will say I'm not a total authoritarian, which means I don't think that the government should universally have all power, nor am I a total ANCAP that thinks that the government should never have any power. That means I have some sort of threshold argument for when I think the government should be able to restrict.
I know what you're talking about. What's the
Why don't you let me finish? I don't think you do know what I'm talking about. Like, you've had many assumptions about what I say, only to hear me later refute what your preconceived notion was. So just listen and let me explain my position, right? So because of that, there will be times where I say the government should be able to restrict our rights or temporarily restrict our rights. For example, I have the right to freely travel, but I understand the need for a speed limit. You don't want me driving 200 mile an hour post to school. The question is, when does the government have the right to tell me how fast I could go? And it's an interesting question. It's oftentimes difficult to get to what the exact threshold would be. I would say, though, a precursor to that would be when the government seeks to take away rights from me that are enshrined in the Constitution or in the Bill of Rights, they need to be as transparent as possible with the information and answer as many questions as possible. Instead, the government did the opposite. They said, what do you want grandma to die? And smugly told me that I was non-essential while they celebrated people marching for Black Lives Matter because of George Floyd's death. Meanwhile, many of those same members of government violated their own lockdown orders, like my governor, Tom Wolf, here in Pennsylvania, to go march with the aforementioned Black Lives Matter as they were riding across this country and, of course, having protests as well. So the sort of questions that I would need to have answered would be, when does the government say they have the right to intervene and take rights like this? And then once they make that argument, then they would have to say, one, what is the damage that they think that this virus will cause if there is no intervention? Second, what the intervention will cost us in terms of other things, not just in lives lost or health outcomes, but how much will it cost us monetarily? How much will it cost us psychological health? How much will it cost in other physical health, etc.? Third, what are the chances that this intervention would be able to solve the problem they were talking about? Fourth, are there alternative things that we could do as opposed to taking away people's rights that may be able to solve this? Fifth, how will we know when these rights can be given back when the problem has been dealt with? And a litany of other questions that at a bare minimum they should have attempted to answer before they just locked us down. My question to you would be, so I hope that answers. I don't have the exact answer, but at least if they would have attempted to answer those questions, I would have been. But my question to you is, I have a two-part question real quick. First question is just a simple yes, no. Did you support lockdowns?
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, yes.
Okay, so then second part to the question is, at the time you supported lockdowns, can you show me the evidence you were looking at that justified the lockdowns?
What?
At the time that you supported lockdowns, can you show me the evidence that you were looking at that justified the lockdowns? What evidence were you looking at? At some point you said, presumably in 2020, yeah, we should have lockdowns. And my question is to you, when you came to that conclusion, what was the evidence that you were seeing that made you come to that conclusion?
When I would check the news and see, oh no, more people dead, lockdowns, oh, everyone's mad, and I was upset as well, trust me. I was like, small businesses are gonna die, blah, 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 blah. And I agree, that sucked. That's not good for the record. But then I saw it go down. And then I was also very, very anti-vaccine at first. And then the vaccine got rolled out, and then the numbers went down. And then I said, okay, maybe
We're talking about vaccines now, which I don't mind getting into, but why don't we just focus on the lockdowns?
The concept of like the government overreach, because I do agree, they overreached quite a bit.
Okay, but nonetheless, so then if I could steelman your position, you gave one piece of evidence that you were looking at, which was a bunch of people dying.
No, dude, does this work?
Yes, I just asked you, I said, what was the evidence you were looking at to justify lockdowns? And you were like, I was hesitant, but then I saw people dying.
No,
a bunch of people dying.
What I saw is that over a year, the more that the lockdowns stayed in place and the more that I saw everyone bitching about it, the numbers of people infected per day went down. And so it turns out that while the government definitely overreached and while the government was definitely hypocritical and non-transparent at all, they were kind of right. They might
Okay,
not be
so
100% right.
so then your argument is you were against the lockdowns as they were happening.
Yes,
But
very much so.
you saw the lockdowns working.
So
And
I
so then
think
you
that they're
changed your
good.
mind
Is
and
that-
said that they were justified.
Yeah, that
Okay,
makes
show me the evidence that lockdowns worked.
Stop. I'm very confused. Wait, so are you saying that the lockdowns were completely pointless?
Yes, no, they were they had a point to them. The point was control, societal control. It helped lead to one of the largest transfers of wealth from the poor and working class to the upper class in the history of this country. That point was made very quick. Social control was done very well with them. But as far as saving lives, no, they absolutely caused far more damage than lives saved.
Okay.
But what does this matter? What I think, because you're saying, let me ask you a different question, and then we'll get right back to this. Would you not say that, like, we have rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights, like the right to free association, the right to free speak, the right to peacefully gather? You agree those are all things we should defend, right?
Very much so. I'd die for those rights.
Okay, so then if you're justifying the government infringing on those rights, then the impetus is on you to explain why. Surely then,
okay,
let me finish. Let me
explain.
let me finish real quick. I'm almost finished. You just said I would die for those rights. So then surely you've seen good evidence. And your reasoning is because lockdown saved lives. So I'm asking you, okay, then prove that. Show me the evidence you're looking at that lockdown saved lives.
Dude, I'm just sitting in my bed on my phone right now. Is this a dunk to you?
No, it's not a
I really want to
dunk.
I really want to like you, but like,
I don't.
am I supposed to
I'll be
seriously
honest, I
remember
don't.
data from 2020? I'm not a
It
guy
doesn't-
on
it
YouTube
doesn't-
like you.
It does. I don't need you to remember specific numbers. I need you to say, I looked at this data, and this data seemed to suggest
The
that
World
places.
Health Organization, the global world, whether or not you agree with their data is pointless at this point. I don't really care, but their data consistently over the months said, look, rates of infection are actually going down. And that was in the European countries that had severe lockdowns. America bungled the lockdown itself, I will very much agree. But as the World Health Organization kept posting shit, I kept going, the number keeps going
Okay,
down.
so then we should look at European countries and their lockdown rates. The data seem to suggest
No,
that
I'm
European
saying-
country.
No,
No,
dude.
because what you're doing is you're justifying a conclusion, but you need to give me the reasons that the World Health said that, right? Like, for example, I could say the World Health Organization says that we should lock up all men, and look, that worked. And you'd be like, but why did they say that would work? What is the data? So how would let me try to steel man the position, because you seem to want to just complain and say, whoa, bro, I want to like you. So let me see if I can quickly get to the heart of this matter. You may say, well, the World Health Organization, which I'm unfamiliar with the specific study that you would be talking about, but the ways that they would look at this is they would look at countries that did lockdowns and then countries that did less lockdowns. And they came to the conclusion that the countries that did more out lockdowns had better outcomes. Is that your argument?
No. You did the thing that I did, and I apologize for it.
Okay, then how would the World Health Organization prove that lockdowns cause? But let me ask you this:
I'm saying
the
that
flu
as
comes
my
and goes. So
position
let's say,
as a common
let me
man, I
try
saw
to do it. Let me
numbers.
try to do it this way, because
I
it's
don't
getting
like
very
this.
reductive now. The flu comes, right? And let's say the flu's peak season is December.
Sure.
But eventually, flu rates go down in like March, right?
Sure.
Okay. So would we say, let's say between December and March, Trump would pass tax cuts. If I said tax cuts got passed, and then look, flu rates went down, you would say that may be true, but there's no obvious connection to Trump's tax cuts
see what
going
you're getting
down.
at. I see what
So
you're getting at.
what I'm
Okay,
asking
so-
you is, how would these studies seek to prove that lockdowns were effective? It seems to me that the way you would prove that is you would take places that did lockdowns and compare them to places that didn't do lockdowns. And if the thesis that we think lockdowns are good and it saves significant lives, we would expect to see the places that locked down have remarkably better outcomes than places that didn't lock down, right?
Well, so did the places that you've looked at that didn't lock down have significantly better numbers?
Yes.
Is that how you formed your opinion?
Yes.
You're saying that.
Yes. That is
I
what
wanna
I'm
get off the
saying.
subject.
Particularly in
you
Europe.
can win this. You can win this. I'll let you dunk on me. This
Sure.
topic is pointless because it's.
Well, you don't have to let me. I will dunk on you regardless.
No, I don't think that there's any way of having useful conversation on this because it's all numbers and shit that happened.
It has nothing
a
to
while
do
ago.
with that. You just admitted that you would die for people's rights to free assembly and be able to peacefully gather. And yet you also said that you supported lockdowns, but you have no clue why. You just
I
said, well,
also
it's because
saw my
organizations
friends-
told me.
I saw my friend's dad watch Tucker Carlson every single day, get to the opinion that actually none of this matters and I'm fine, wrong. And that sucked. That was a bad time for everybody. And I just remember that, and I said, maybe.
So now it's because you have an anecdotal story of one person. So if I
Dude,
can
know
counter
you're-
that with
I know what you're
anecdotal,
doing. I know what you're doing.
what are you
understand.
talking about? That's what do you mean you know what I'm doing? I'm critiquing the fact that it seems you had very little reason.
You watch Charlie Kirk?
Not really, no.
Do you know? Have you ever seen his like debate videos though?
Yeah.
Like where he goes on like college campuses. Same with like
Yeah.
Steven Crowder, like all those type of fellas.
Yeah.
I used to be a big fan of those.
Okay.
Big fan of them. It's fun. It is fun to watch people you like dunk on people you don't like, regardless of the medium.
Okay.
I will agree with that.
Okay.
What I realized though, and why I've kind of come to despise that style of content, is that the person engaging in the debate, the person who's hosting the debate, let's go hosting, invites people to come on to have a conversation and has a bunch of preconceived things in their brain because they run the show, and then a person will come in and make like one small contradiction, and then they'll talk over them and talk smugly and correctly point out said contradiction, but then treat it as some sort of like genuine win, like some genuine like, I got you there, buddy. When all I'm doing, honestly, is just asking you currently. Yeah, I didn't even get to my point. You stayed on that COVID topic for a while. I understand why. You're right. What am I going to say? Am I going to pull up actual data to defute? No, this is completely pointless. And I agree with you. It's a good strategy. It's a fantastic strategy to win the debate.
Being correct is a good strategy is your argument here.
You just did it.
What did I do? What did I do?
You said the thing that I said. Oh my goodness! All right, I do.
Let me. Okay,
like
so
a
I've
nice
given
guy.
you. I've given you a chance. I actually First off, I was a qualifier for the national debate tournament when I went to college many moons ago,
Yeah,
and have
you're
debated basically.
fantastic at
Please notice how I
So,
sit there and
but
let
do
you
you
talk
think- do you
unfettered.
think that
Notice
you
how I sit
won?
there. Notice how I sit there and let you make your point unfettered. I believe you could give me the same courtesy, particularly because it is on my show. Would seem to be decent of you to do. And so the idea, just because you don't know who I am and this is what I do, I debate people, is irrelevant to me. What you're doing is what I like to call tone policing. And oftentimes what happens is when someone comes in and acts in a braggadocious manner and starts saying things like, everyone in the world that's like qualified says you're wrong about all of these stuff. When I push back on it and we get into the actual facts,
Can
and
I
you end up
restate-
losing,
can I
please.
restate that claim? Can I
No,
restate
you
that
can't
claim?
restate that claim. What you could do is generously leave me finish my point, and then you'll have a chance to respond if you like. That's sort of the way that it goes, right? And so when you come in and make that claim, and then I push back and say, well, look, let's go with the facts and see, you then resort to this, okay, I don't have facts on my side, but I feel like you're just thinking you get a win just because you're correct on this point, and that's some sort of debate bro type thing. I'm uninterested in your whining and tone policing because you justified authoritarian controls on people, which you said you would die for people's rights to have these, and you have no good reason why you justified them. The two reasons that you've given, and you've backtracked already from one of them, was because that's what organizations that I feel are authorities like the World Health Organization told me to believe, and because, unfortunately, my friend's uncle or my friend's dad passed away. I could tell anecdotal story after anecdotal story of people on the other end of this that exaggerated the impacts of COVID and led us to disastrous situations. We can see the economic devastation today that came from these lockdowns and stopping the world economy, supply chain crushes, inflation that was necessary because of the 50% of increased M2 money supply that we had. You don't want to talk about any of that because you're just an NPC. And I will get a little more hostile to you now, if you don't mind, on my show. The truth is that you're not someone who's capable of formulating these opinions, and contrary to your claim that you would die for people's rights, that's not true at all. You'll listen to what people that you have put authority on tell you what opinions you should have and justify them stripping rights from other people while smugly thinking that that somehow means you're correct and other people are brainwashed and inferior because they've actually bothered to go through all of these arguments that you yourself were too lazy and unwilling to do. Then you'll call on to shows thinking that you're going to be able to say, dude, dude, bro, everyone disagrees with you because you thought that I was just another normal MAGA person, that you would be able to easily do something like that, or that maybe I would try to be your friend and wouldn't push back. Well, you fucking ran into a buzzsaw. I've had these debates with people much smarter than you that were actually interested in looking into facts, not people that just wanted to rely on one anecdotal story or a fallacious appeal to authority like you're doing. So excuse me if I don't give a shit about your tone policing that I've seen come a dime a dozen, which is every NPC like you, including so many of those that you see in Steven Crowder or Charlie Kirk debates that get fucking blown out because they're pushing authoritarian positions that they have no justification for. They appeal to, oh, but I just wanted to be your friend and you're debate broing me. Go fuck yourself, in short.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right?
Well said.
Anything
well said,
else?
brother.
You got
Yeah,
it.
actually, I have a few more things. Are you gonna? Can I talk?
Have at?
Yeah. All right, I'm with you. What? Answer this, and I do actually very much appreciate your manner of speaking. You're very well spoken. This is fantastic. This is really like actually cool to hear. But I am just a guy, is my point, and I did not intend on dunking. I literally just your stream came up. I said, "There's a number to call. I wonder what this guy is about." I came on. I said, "Let's talk." So no, I didn't really have a position. First of all, this is going to turn into argument territory. It doesn't matter. I don't know you. I'm never going to meet you.
Well, do you want me to
don't know
respond to this now, or I can?
No,
leave you
my
go?
question. No. That's not even my
Okay.
question. My question is, does it bother you that many scientists, genuinely proven science, and don't ask me like, where did you get this information? What science are you proving? Because you're correct. I'm not going to have an answer. But what I do know is that the majority of the shit that I saw, whether or not it was true, I don't know. I don't care. Because I saw it, I said, that's an organization that doesn't really lie very often. And I said, I don't know why would the World Health, and I'm asking you, why would so many of them lie if they knew that it was going to be bad? I'm just going to use bad. I'm not even going to use a specific thing. If you're saying that they lied because they could and everyone lied and it was a big conspiracy, does it bother you that so many of them were in on the conspiracy? And does it ever make you think why you are in the fringe minority of people that do not agree with the general consensus? That's my question.
Yes, it does bother me that these places lied or were wrong. It does
That's
bother
the only
me
answer
that
I needed. That's the only answer I needed.
Okay,
So,
but I'll
next point.
elaborate despite on what you needed, right? That does bother me, but that's more of a problem with them. We've seen that the scientific community has been wrong on health matters many times over.
I agree,
It is
yeah.
anti-scientific to just say we just appeal to them and they must be right. For example, if this is a grandiose conspiracy that would be outlandish to think people could do it, can you explain to me why 52 virologists signed off a paper in Nature magazine at the initial onset of COVID saying that it was impossible that it came from a lab in Wuhan, now something that there's nearly a consensus that says actually it's most likely it came from a lab? Why were these people involved in a conspiracy? Does that question, you would have said Nature magazine, why would they lie? They're trustworthy, they're cited all the time.
No, it's Nature magazine. It's a magazine. They want to sell shit. They
Okay,
wanna
so does
sell
the World
things.
Health Organization.
Okay, I do seriously want to get off this topic because it seems.
Do you think that we were lied to? Do you think we were lied to about WMDs in Iraq?
Yes.
Why would what a grand conspiracy, right?
The grand conspiracy that George Bush wanted more control of the Middle East to help
Wasn't just
Israel,
George
that's not
Bush.
that's not.
There
a
wasn't
conspiracy.
just George Bush, it was intel agencies all
It was
across the
AIPAC.
world.
Are you an AIPAC supporter?
Do I support AIPAC? That's your
You brought
question?
this up. You brought this up. Yeah, this is
I
very
didn't
question.
mention AIPAC.
No, I did. You brought up
Okay,
the WMD
no,
thing.
I don't
I'd rather talk
support
about that.
AIPAC or
That's, I
pretty
know more
much-
about that.
I don't support AIPAC or almost any other lobbying group.
Okay.
Why'd you bring up AIPAC?
No, because you brought up the WMD thing. Do you? So you said that in a sarcastic manner, as if I was supposed to submit. So I'm kind of confused about what your point is.
My
Are you
guess
ta-
is that you bring up AIPAC because you're trying to say that, like, what? That I have some hatred of Israel or something?
No. That's not what I'm trying to say at
Then
all.
why do you think AIPAC was the only institution that was
God.
interested
No,
in selling the
that
idea
was-
of WMDs? So what was it specifically about AIPAC that you brought up? Do you dislike Israel? Is that what the issue is?
Dude, oh my goodness.
I mean, if I was going, if the shoe was on the other foot, I don't know why I would arbitrarily pick AIPAC when I'm talking about other institutions and countries around the world.
I was being I was just kind of confused. I was wondering what your position on that point was before I went further.
What's your position on it?
My position is that I find okay. What's the best way to put this? I guess my real question is, you said you're a populist fella, right?
Correct.
So you're saying that a good amount of, if not the majority, of institutions, the powers that be, let's just say powers that be. I'm not going to bring up any examples because you know what I'm talking about. You are on this side of the coin right now that is being laughed at by a lot of people, and I'm not saying that it's justified. I'm not saying that I do it. I'm just saying that a good amount of people find you guys to be fucking insane. And I don't know why. I don't care why. I disagree with a good amount of the points. That's all I have with it. I look at things, I read shit, I go, yeah, that makes sense to me. And I read other things and I go, not so much. I don't want to be an expert. I don't need to be an expert. So I'm asking you right now, point blank period, you do not believe the freedom of speech should ever be infringed upon.
When did I say that? In fact, if you listen to me carefully, you would know the answer to that. No, I'm not saying that. For example, I already said that I think that I'm not a complete authoritarian, which means the government should always have the right, nor am I a complete ANCAP that believes the government should never have the right. I said that if the government wants to infringe on these things that are called rights, then the onus is on them, or the onus is on them to provide that it's necessary and to answer a litany of questions. Instead, what we got was derision by the government. Now, to answer your point that you were making about a lot of people in the world laugh at me because I don't trust these institutions, I don't give a shit. A lot of people have laughed at people throughout the world for not going around with a consensus, and it turned out that they were correct. And I will say that there are a lot of people that are laughing at people like you. That please, why am I capable of sitting here and letting you get through a point, but you're incapable of doing the same for me?
Because your points take 3 times longer than me, and they're
one, it's my show, and second, I don't know that that's true. I think that I'm actually making points in a concise manner, even if I'm making them at a rapid pace, whereas you ramble on and on without really saying anything. That's my point. It doesn't matter if I answered your question. You're not controlling the direction of the show, and I'm going to continue to give the answer that I saw fit. So I think that you should know that there are a lot of us that laugh at people like you that just say, well,
Yeah,
I
do.
just trust. Please, I trust what these institutions say, and they say you're wrong, and so people are laughing at you. What do you think about that? What do you think about that millions of people in this country are laughing at you? What do you think about that?
I think it's completely fine. It doesn't bother me at all. It's the purpose of democracy.
Okay, so then are you surprised that I feel the same way? I don't give a shit if people on your side laugh at me.
No, I'm not surprised at all.
Cool.
That's why I asked
So
the
then what
question.
we
You
should
answered
do
my
is
question.
what we should do is look for the truth of the matter, despite appealing to a crowd or appealing to authority. We should say, well, what is the truth of the matter? And it's irrelevant how many people are laughing if you agreed with the truth or not. Because we could agree if we're coming from, let me finish, we could agree if we're coming from opposite sides of this and both sides are laughing at the other, that's sort of irrelevant. What matters is the truth of the matter, correct?
Sure, you can only clip this. Are you going to put this on your YouTube channel?
It probably will be.
Word, brother. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. All right, I have one question for you. Big one. Big kahuna question. How do you feel about gay people? / trans, / any of those fellas?
What does this have to do with anything?
No, that's
that
my
we just
question.
talked about?
That was the original point that I was trying to get to.
Okay,
And I understand. I really do appreciate the way that you were answering all of my questions, but that's the one.
I will answer your question, but then you'll do me the same courtesy of answering a question that I have for you, correct?
Can you make it like generally short-winded?
What, my answer to you or the question
the question, because
Sure.
Sure, great. What's your answer?
Okay,
First.
my answer is, I think that gay should be abnormal. I think that it's probably a sin, but I don't think that the government should have the right to discriminate against gay people. So if the government is involved in the institution of marriage, which I basically don't think they should be, but because they are, and it incurs so many like financial contractual obligations and rewards, they should not be allowed to discriminate against consenting adults, despite their sex. So that's my answer.
Okay, great. What was your question for me?
Okay, why do you like incest?
Why do I like? What do you mean?
That's my question. Why do you like incest?
Is this this is probably a real good bait for you? Oh boy, what do I? Okay, so what I say I don't. What are you gonna say now? What's the next thing?
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks so much. You see the point of like this sort of irrelevant question?
Yeah, no, that was
it's the same reason you brought up the APEC thing. That's why I'm acting. It is because what you're doing is you're trying to get like, and this is another common tactic, right? When you are losing on the factual issue of
I'm
something
not
that's being
losing
discussed.
shit though. You
Yeah,
think that I'm
please,
losing?
you
You
can't.
think that you're
Not
winning.
only are you losing on the factual
do you
basis
think
for
you're
the things,
winning?
because you're contradicting yourself. You don't have a mastery of the facts. You're basically admitting that you just appeal to authority and you're just running your life based on feels. The things that you said that I was wrong about and that the rest of the world was laughing about, you're incapable of defending why I was wrong. It's just basically
don't
your
want to
feels and
defend
people have
it.
told me. And so you're also losing stylistically. You can't find yourself capable to not interrupt me
Stylistically?
as I'm talking. So you're losing on that portion of
Oh.
it as well. And so one of the things that you want to do is change the subject to some like, see, at least I could tell people like, well, he's a bigot. He hates gay
No,
people.
that wasn't the point. That
He
wasn't the
hates
point at all.
Israel.
That
Like
wasn't
it's
the
just
point.
a bunch of
You
non
made that up.
sequitur.
You made
It's
that
just a
up.
bunch of non sequitur questions here. Well, what about APEC? Well, what about gay people?
That's
What does
not
this
what
have
I-
anything to do with the crux of what we were talking about?
Do you watch
Nothing.
these back?
Yes. Well, I don't
If
know.
you find
Sometimes not
if
always.
you find in this thing, seriously, brother, if you find either of those comments, either of those statements that you just said that I'm at the very least implying, if you find any genuine evidence of that watching this tape back, I applaud you. Why did you assume that that's where I was going with this?
Because
Because I'm a
you
liberal?
came
Because
on.
I'm a
You
liberal
came on.
snowflake who wants to call you a bigot? That's your assumption.
No,
You just made an assumption.
because it is the best. It is the most logical conclusion from the non sequitur of questions you've asked. For example, let's go back to the APEC question. Out of the hundreds of countries and organizations that you
I
could have
didn't give a
talked
fuck
about
about
that had
that at
opinions
all.
on
I never
WMDs,
just- it
why
was
did you bring up
genuinely
APEC?
just-
That
Do you want to
it
know
was
why I
just
brought it
one.
up?
It was 100% randomly drawn out of a hat. That's your argument.
No. You brought up WMDs. I was wondering how far your opinion went on that. So I was.
What do you
said-
mean? What does APEC
So-
have to do with how far my opinion goes on WMDs?
No. So what I was.
Explain.
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Give me a second on this. I'm not as good as talking as you. I also
That's
don't own
evident.
a fucking debate show.
That's evident. You're not as good as talking, but go for it.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So why did you bring up WMDs? Do you remember the context of that?
I absolutely do. Because the position was when a bunch of institutions around the world with authority laugh at you and say you're wrong, they would have to be involved in a grand conspiracy. And my point was, but you probably as a lefty probably believed that WMDs were a lie, which would be the exact same issue that you're talking about, which this was a bunch of people in positions of authority, not just in the United States, but
you
around the
think that
world.
I did think there were WMDs?
No, I think that you probably were against the Iraq war. Correct?
Are you sure?
Okay, and so then the same argument would be made. If at the time I would said, wait a minute, all of these intel agencies around the world, not just George Bush's, but all these intel agencies, they think, right? They think that there were WMDs. And you're wrong. They're laughing at you. And it would have to be a grand conspiracy for all of these people to be wrong. You would say, I don't give a shit. I haven't seen proof. I don't believe them. They were wrong. Same argument I'm making when it comes to the pandemic. I was using that as an example of an issue. Let me finish. I was using that as an example of a time when people would have made a similar argument against you. So you would say, oh, okay, I get it now. That's what I was trying to do. And then you were like, well, what about APEC? Which has nothing to do. So I gave you the reason why I brought up WMDs. Now I'm asking you why you brought up APEC. That's the question. You're just fucking around. But what's the implication? What implication would you draw
So
if
when
the
you
shoe
said
was on
that,
the other
do you
foot?
Do you want to know? Do you seriously want to know?
Was that? Yeah, go ahead. They've paid money to kick you. Plus, I only have 10 minutes left in the show. So
You got paid money to kick
go
me?
ahead and answer. Yeah, $100, you get kicked. Someone paid $100.
Word,
So
all right.
here's the deal.
Damn,
Here's
you
the
got
deal.
$100? That is the most. Oh my goodness, you make that much money off of this shit?
I do.
Holy
All right, get to the
fuck.
point. You just randomly stumbled across probably one of the best right-wing debaters on the online space.
I think you're incredibly good at debating. I don't think
It's
that this
true.
is good for anyone.
Okay,
And I
we're going to
keep
kick you,
this
so
in a-
get to your
no.
final point. Get to your final point. You can explain real quick why you brought up APEC, and then you can give your final point, and then we got to let you go. But you got like a minute. That's all I
My
can give
final
you.
point is this is incredibly condescending and very unproductive. I don't understand the point of these debate formats. I don't understand why you thought of me as hostile. I don't understand why you saw me just say, hey, what's this topic? What are your thoughts on this? Well, ask some questions. You asked me a bunch of very, very hyper-specific questions I did not know the answers to, so I told you my general thoughts and feelings about them. You obviously were incredibly prepared with evidence and shit that you remember because you were more involved in this shit. I was like 17. All I was saying is that this is my thoughts, and I wanted to hear what you had to say about them. Unfortunately, what you had to say about them was to just be a dick to me. And honestly, it's a pretty good debate format. Pretty good shit. Honestly, I applaud you. I'm happy you make money off of this. I do not consider this to be good for... I do not consider this to be beneficial, though. I don't think that this
Word
is
of
a good
advice.
way of having a
All
conversation
right.
with somebody.
Word of advice I'll have for you. If you're really just looking to have a conversation with people, then don't come in saying that the rest of the world's laughing at them and being derisive and
They
saying
are
the
though.
rest of the
No,
world says
they
you're
are though.
wrong.
I mean, what happens?
You said that the rest of the world was right and I was they proved that I was wrong. People like me. That's what you said.
Okay, sure, dude.
So if you want to have
Yeah,
a
you
good
got me.
conversation,
You
maybe
got
you
me.
don't come in with something like that. All right, we'll see you.
You
Thanks
got
for the
me.
content. Oh, yes. Another. Why are you going to be mean to me? I mean, he started it. This, like, oh my gosh, my poor feeling. I just don't give a shit. I don't care about that mentality. I just don't. I really don't. From the bottom of my heart, the tone policing. Once you want to get into it and you're like, everyone says you're wrong, okay, then look at the facts on the ground. And he also was like, the idea that he was someone innocent. What happens is this often, someone will come in and they'll be pointed. And then when they find out that the other person's not going to back down and has more of a mastery of facts, then all of a sudden they play the victim. Oh, well, no, I was actually just looking. You saw this with Brianna Wu when I debated her. All the Republicans on here are fucking idiots. They're babies. They're just fucking stupid. And then when I push back, it's like, why are you being mean? Right. Same bullshit. Same bullshit. All these insane people on your side and the things you believe that are provably wrong from all of these organizations. That's the point. The point was to belittle me and people like me and people that he claimed were on my side. So I started saying, okay, what about the people that were wrong on your side? And then he started whining, which is fine. All right, I got 1 minute to give you, Miggy, 1 minute Bandit, and 1 minute Megamax. Go for it, Miggy, real quick. What's up?
Well, speaking about that one, the guy you had earlier about AI and stuff, I think there's something you need to be concerned about when it comes to JD Vance's campaign for 2028, because he has a lot, like there's been a lot of those tech bros that's getting behind him, and like Peter Thiel, Palantir, all those people that pretty much is like now known as the tech right, is getting behind all this crap. So I would definitely be worried about that coming up in the future. Huh?
All right, yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. There's things to be somewhat concerned, but all right,
Yeah.
thanks, Miggy. We
All right,
appreciate
no
it.
problem.
All right. Bandit, what's up? Real quick, man. I got a minute for you. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you. Just real quick, to whoever paid $100 to kick him, I salute you. And the one thing I wanted to say was the one pushback that I would give to your guest, the AI guy, was all right. I'm old enough to remember playing 8-bit games, and when now we've got AI video, and he's saying that it'll never be strong enough to be that there won't be any uncanny valley. I don't believe that.
Well, to be clear, I don't know that that's the claim he's making. Obviously, I'd leave Spiro answer himself, but I think that what he's saying is the current technology we have now, the way that foundationally it's built, even if we advance from there, it could never escape sort of this uncanny valley. I don't think that's the language he'd put it, but I think that's. But he is admitting, yes, if we built something from the ground up, hypothetically that could. But he's just saying the current AI we have, it doesn't matter how much it advances, because the way it makes this material is not a way that we'll ever be able to, do this.
And I agree with him on that. I just real quick, is just one of those things that, like, in my lifetime, it's advanced so much that I for him to say that in some way that it's impossible, I don't agree with that. And I respect his opinion on
It's
may
fair.
be more. Yeah.
It's fair. It's fair. So, all right. Thanks so much, Ben. Always appreciate hearing from you, man. Thanks so much. Megamax, real quick, man. I got like a minute for you. What's happening,
no
man?
problem. Nothing much. So a couple of things that we can get into a minute. One, when it came to the Trump Epstein stuff like that, this isn't really a defense, more just an alternate explanation of what. One, technically speaking, Trump did everything that he's supposed to, and that he's allowed the release of all the documents. So that technically falls on the Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, that sort of crowd to like get off their asses and actually release that shit. Most of this is coming from Razorfist, from what I've heard. But the other part of it too is that the big Epstein document that everyone's talking about of the list was created under the Obama era Eric Holder DOJ. And if anyone remembers Eric Holder's DOJ, you understand why maybe like it's it's a hoax. In that Eric Holder was like one of the most corrupt DOJ heads ever. Like he didn't start Fast and Furious, but under his leadership, Fast and Furious like got expanded and stuff like that. And he was one of those Obama era guys who literally had to fall on his own sword to protect Obama's legacy.
That's fair. I don't even think that the list exists in the way that people think it does.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, in that they were like overhyping this. Like, we got this list. It's going to be, and the only way I could see them saying it is coming out with and showing their PP in that a big PowerPoint presentation of like, all right, here's what we thought we were going to get. Here's what we actually got. I'm sorry to disappoint everyone.
So, all right, man, I got to let you go, but I would be happy to talk to you more about this at some other time.
Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry.
problem.
Normally I'd stay on late, but I do got a hard 10 o'clock out, and I got to
Dude,
read
get
super
you, man.
chats. So.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I do
we'll see.
like the donation number 357. That's pretty.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad. Take it easy. Okay. One thing I have to say, I saw the DM that I got on X bitching about my mods that time people out for 1 minute. Yes, it was a fucking joke. My mod did not time you out for 1 minute because he specifically hates you. He was making a point to say, oh, people need to donate money. It wasn't because he was upset because people were pushing back. It was a 1 minute timeout. I'm sorry if it upset you. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but that's what happened. I don't think it was something to be that upset with. I think it was just a cheeky little joke. That's all it was. So I hope if anyone was upset about that they understand that it was just a cheeky joke. It was a 1 minute timeout. That's it. That's all that was going on. I got to read super chats. Let's get to it. I guess. Oh, fuck. Let's see. Running out of time here. All right. I'm going to try my best here. Fucking hell. All right. Give me a second. Apparently someone donated money to hear a song, so I'm going to play that, but unfortunately it's going to have to play behind while I'm talking about the super chats because I only have 6 minutes. So here we go. Here's the song that was requested. It's called Cry Baby. Thank you so much for whoever donated to request that. Now, let's get through these fast. I'm so sorry that I have to go fast through these, but I have a heart out. Vita, thank you so much for the $2. Chuck in Tennessee, really appreciate it, man. $5 says, on behalf of EOD, I have faith in him. Thank you so much, Chuck. Everybody has faith in EOD. Chuck in Tennessee becomes a member for a month, says, I'm here because of EOD. He's the man. Thank you. The great John Smith, $10 says, for Are We Not Men's Feels, because I honestly really care for him and he makes my pants tighter and he always has the loveliest neck. Anyone else have a compliment for Are We Not Men? Speak now. We need it. Thank you so much. I'm sure he appreciates it. Anonymous Coward, $5 says, review the Sitch and Adam debate with Econoboy on his transition to socialism. He seriously argued for sovereign wealth funds as his great socialist idea. He's talked to me about sovereign wealth funds before, so I'm not surprised. John Smith, $5. Thank you again. Says, Are We Not Men? Mute tech guy. He tried you. Oh. Steve Granger, $10 for the grift. Thank you so much, Steve, as always. Not Quite Dead, always nice to hear from you as well. $5 says, Not One Step Back. Thank you so much. John Smith, $20 says, for the Jess White song and stroke Are We Not Men's huge emotions. Thank you so much. Wade Boggs, unbelievable, $50. Thank you so much. John Smith gives another $20. Amazing. And Not Quite Dead, another 20. Says, please don't count this for removing the guy. I'm enjoying this. Thank you so much. Steve Granger, $10. Thank you so much. And Tiggle, $10. He gave the final $10 to remove him. Says, sold. Vita for $2 says, Rob, this 17 bag is trying to get you banned. Which one? I don't know. All right, we'll play the rest of the song.
To the drama you stage, but nobody's buying the bullshit you say. Cry baby, stamp those feet. Even your tears can't fake defeat. Cry baby, cue that sigh. We'll be over here just watching you cry. Yeah.
Oh shit, it's going to play again. All right. Tomorrow's going to be a weird one. I might stream in the car. I'm driving to Chicago. You can get those super chats in real quick. Austin Hall's going to win tonight. Unfortunately, didn't have enough time to grift. Ran thin there at the end. I'm sorry, but I was having a good time talking to that guy. So, it is what it is. Austin Hall, the victor tonight, unless someone gets like $200 in. Probably not going to happen. That's okay. We've done a hell of a job. You people are incredibly generous. I'll be heading to Chicago for the modern day debate event where Andrew Wilson will be debating about 5 lefties. It should be a lot of fun. So if you're out there, I look forward to seeing you there. But it's about a 7.5 hour drive for me tomorrow. So your donations will go to making that trip a little more comfortable for me, having things like beverages and, gas. That's important. I didn't give the song justice. I didn't have time. I'm so sorry. Just running out of time. I have to get to the close of this. I got to be up by 10. Thank you, Tiggle. $50. Thanks so much. Have a good night, Rob. Great streams as always. Thank you, Tiggle. Really appreciate it, man. Beef jerky. Yes, I like beef jerky while I'm driving. A little nibble here and there. Gives you something to chew on. Salty Caveman, thank you so much for the $10. Really appreciate it. Now, the rest of tonight, I will be playing Dungeons & Dragons, the 3rd ever session that I've played. The great Joe Boober will be battling orcs, dragons, whatever else. Our own EOD will be the Dungeon Master of that, so you can go over there. It will not be on this channel that you're watching right now. It will be on my gaming channel. I'll put the link to that gaming channel. You could check that out right here. I don't have to play it again. I'm not playing it again. I'm about to head out. It's 9:59. I have to be out in a minute, so it's not going to finish. There is the link to my gaming channel. If you go over there, just give a sub. I will be raiding into EOD's channel. You can donate money to EOD. He'll have the explanations pinned on his channel there, how you could donate money to him to affect the in-game. So you could make bad shit happen to the characters. You can make good shit happen to the characters, etc. So if that's something that's interesting to you, then consider sticking around for this raid of EOD. I'm not going to clog up this channel. With that sort of like gaming type stuff. So it will be on the Normal America Gaming channel, which I've linked there below. Thank you so much. Enjoy this raid of EOD. We will see you all soon. As always, thank you so much for your generosity and have a good one.